Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar this afternoon. Thank you for those who turned up at the moment. We're just waiting for a few more people to turn up and then we'll get going. So I will start the webinar in about 2 minutes time. In the meantime, sit tight and I'll look forward to speaking with you soon. Okay, thank you very much for your patience there and waiting for everyone to join the webinar. So we're going to get started with the webinar this afternoon. So the title of the webinar this morning is Adjust the Software Development for Your Business. So what this means, what we're looking for is we're going to look at the customer development and recognition of the appropriate IT solution. So this is looking at what software to build and when to build it and why to build it. Software development for the business, so real cases and on what you can do and how we can help, how software can help your business, and what we'll do now. So just a quick introduction into me. My name is James Watkins. I'm a project consultant at Magora, and as you can see from my background, I have a background in building teams within top technology organisations. I've worked in digital strategy within primary and community care within the NHS in England and Wales. I've launched new products into the Microsoft Dynamics 365 channel, or traditionally the NAV channel, and now I'm a project consultant at Magora, as I said. So today we're going to discuss exactly what I just said in the intro there. So we're going to custom development, software development for your business, and concepts of software development, so that you can look at what you could do and what you can't do. This webinar is roughly going to take about 20 minutes, and then we're going to have a Q&A section after that. So just a little bit of an overview of how Magora works. This is quite a powerful slide, and to see, breaking down the process of our product life cycle. So we take a project and we look at it in 4 stages, which is the 4 Ds. So the discovery stage is where we really look at everything about your project and really try to marry ourselves with you and your team and your business idea. And we really look at then scoping the project, how it's going to look, what it's going to look like, the features, the technology, the risks associated with this, implementations, the go-to market. We look at all this in the discovery. At the same time as the discovery is running, we run the design alongside, because as we know, design and how the product looks and the application looks and how people interact with that is very key to keep people loaded onto your product and customer satisfaction, as well as employee satisfaction if you're building an internal system to work on business streams and things like that. So we've got to make sure that the design lies up with what you're actually looking to build. Then we move on to the development. And then we move into the deploy, which is looking at the regression testing, looking at getting it into your environment, whether that be on-prem, in the cloud, hosted or private, and setting that environment up and making sure that everything's work ready for you to launch the product to your customers or to your internal staff. And then the last bit of the 4 Ds is the supporting you in further growth and further software development. So that's our process. If you do have any more questions on that, my name and number will be at the end of the presentation, and we can discuss this further. But hopefully we'll be able to go through some of this today. So the first slide that we're looking at is, when do you need bespoke software development? So let's have a look at this. Oops, sorry there. So where to start? That is the main thing about when everyone looks at whether you might be a startup with a new idea, or there's existing people in the market doing what you're doing. You're a business looking to change, and you're looking to move more into a digital era and try and do things more, either reach more customers or actually just speed up business processes and streamline the business process to make you more lean, more agile. All these great buzzwords that people are using at the moment. Wherever you seem to look, they're using these words. So it's about finding out where to start. So that's assessing your business and assessing what you're doing. So the key areas that we've identified are, do you have multiple routines and operations or duplicated actions within your system or within your business? So, a good place to start would be look at the finance system and how you do that. How do you invoice customers? How do you send out reminders to customers? How do you bill your clients? How do you, that kind of thing. There are lots of software out there that can do that already, but maybe looking at that. If you work in another industry, it could be, just doing a simple process of how you onboard a client, how you maybe you send communications to a customer, how you do sales and marketing to these people. How can we streamline that so we can have one process, and looking at doing that and changing that? And can we use software to do this, or is it mainly just to tighten up your admin so you don't have duplicate actions, because that wastes time and that wastes money for your company. If you're dealing with unstructured data, so if you have lots of data from different places and it's unstructured, and you're trying to streamline that and look and see how to make data help you identify customers, better work ways, better work pathways, and things like that. So that's one way to look at, is that a problem within your business, and could you maybe look at that? Or if you have no control over your process, if you have lots of people in your organization all doing the same thing, getting the same results, but they do it all in a different way, and things are being missed, or you're not collecting all the data that you need to give a full, accurate portrayal of your business as is in state, then we can, look at maybe putting in procedures and processes and software to run these processes to make sure that everyone does the same job and it collects all the right data, for your senior management team and your board members. Again, we've alluded to what I've all just alluded to, automating processes. Can we do any of that? Can we, is there a job now that someone does that they're a bit stretched, and they could, this could just be automated. If they could hit just run, it would go collect the data and produce reports, or send emails out to people, or reach out to clients via another mean. Is that something that we can do, or is it just mainly just referencing documents within an organization, running reports to see how you're doing it at that moment, and really automating that process rather than trying to drag all that data from all different places. And the other way to place things is, look at how easy and how protected you are, especially with everything coming up, with the GDPR and things, making sure you're compliant with that, and how is software going to help you with that. If you're a startup and you're looking to start and you're thinking, I've got this idea, do I need software? Do I not need software? Am I now going to become a software company, or do I want to deliver technology? First of all, you have to find a way to bring new value to people. So if you are already, if you use food delivery, for an example, there are lots of food delivery apps out there. So how do you make yourself stand out? What is your USP? What is your value add to why someone would switch from one application to your application? So what is your niche, or your nook of what you're going to do, and get people away from that? Or have you found a completely new idea and you want to try and work out how you're going to bring this to the masses? That's very important, that we look at that, and how we're going to do that, and what is the right way, and how we're going to do that. And we're going to talk about that later in the presentation, about what is the right steps for you to move that project forward. So the next stage is understanding where you are. So like anywhere, you've now looked at your processes, you've looked at the business internally and externally, what you need, and now you think, right, okay, we've got to generate an idea. So that's what you need to do. So you need to generate an idea, and how that's going to happen. Then if it's a B2C or a B2B, and it's looking at streamlining processes or getting more customers or something like that, then you've got to look, how are we going to monetize this? How are we going to make money from this project? Because software development costs money, so we've got to have money to pay for this software development, and is it worth it? Or is the software development going to be the other way around? Is this going to save us time? Is this going to allocate resource internally from our existing teams? So by building this, we'll save time and we'll be more productive, because that's a big driver for businesses as well as productivity. How can we make our staff more productive, which will make us more profit? And then also you've got to look at the other benefits and what that can bring to the business. So there are lots of different things, like even just, smaller things, and, more and more, you want to make staff happy. So we can look at engagement opportunities and apps and have your say and things to really engage your workforce so they feel part of the overall organization, rather than just a cog in the system and they don't feel like they're having their voice heard. So we could look at maybe engagement applications, new HR applications. We could look at e-training within organizations to try and bring your work staff up to speed, or just keep them training so they keep thinking they're developing and building that presence within your organization. There is something to a happy workforce equals a happy business. We've also got to understand the main workflows and what they will look like. So it's really sort of going down and sketching out what the process you are trying to achieve, and looking at all the points, all the touch points that you have now. A flow diagram is very good to do this. So we do X, Y, and Z, and we get Z. But how can we get from X to Z without doing Y? Is there a possibility? What does that need to look like? How can we do this? So drawing things out and working out the workflows and how you want to get to is a really good place of understanding where you are at the moment. And then, this one goes back to increasing revenue. So it's checking that actually what you're going to invest is going to give you a return. That might not be revenue. That might be like ones I've mentioned, happier staff engagement, you run leaner, you're more productive, you create more clients, you make more sales. All these things increase revenue, so you've got to make sure that the investment in the software weighs up with the increase in your revenue or bottom line. So customer development. So what is customer development? So this is where you really need to know your user personas. And what I mean by this is your portraits of your customer. So you need to understand what your customer is, where your customer lies, where they sit, what they do, how they're going to use your application, and why they're going to your application. So this comes very much under the discovery phase, the first D that we mentioned if you start to work with an IT vendor. This is what they should be doing, is helping you build these personas of these people. You should already have an idea, and then it's about qualifying that data that you've already collected with the software vendor so they really understand, so they can get the right UX, the right UI to really move that forward. With knowing the personas, you're identifying the end users and their needs and their desires, so you know that there's a gap because they're not getting this from a certain app or a certain process, or even your employees, they have to log in 3 or 4 times to do one task. How about we overarch that with one system that you can just do everything, multiple screens within one window, so that it makes it their workflow, so their day of logging in into one system is much easier. If I take my own example, my wife works in finance, and she's always logging out of one system for expenses into another system to log the expenses. Then she needs to print them and file them, and there's lots of logging out. So I can imagine that her needs and desires would be, can I do that all under one roof? And there are some very good finance systems and ERP systems that have taken on all this board and put that in there. So that's one where a company is now selling a software as a service to companies to really streamline processes and make users happy. It knows their needs and desires. And also, if you're building a new app, and it's B2C and it's out there to consumers, you need to understand the motivation to purchase. Why would they download your app over someone else's app? How are you going to get them to do that? So we need to, that comes from knowing your persona, knowing the portrait of the person you're attracting, what value you're going to add, as we've mentioned on the previous slide, and how is that going to benefit them to make them want to use you over someone else. So you need to put some real thought into that. So once we get to once we've done that section, we're going to move on to the ideas stage. So you've got to be able to describe what you want to do ideally. A general overview. We call this a project overview of your wants and needs, of what you want to do as a company and what your idea is. And see if that it is a genuine idea, and how do you do that? You go to the most honest people that is your friends and family. Your friends and family won't lie to you. You go to maybe colleagues, or you maybe go to people in the street. They might not want to offend you by saying, well, that's a terrible idea. You go to the most honest people, your friends and your family. They tell you when you've done something wrong. They tell you when you're being stupid. They tell you when you're great, and they make you laugh and they make you happy. So these are the best people to pitch to. If they think they've got something. Also, one thing about friends and families and colleagues, you have similar goals and you are of the similar persona. So you're obviously seeing a need there, and you can actually get that need from them. And plus, they're very honest to you, like I've said before. So that's a really good place to go. You've got to be able to present the benefits. So, if you're looking at an app for a customer, you've got to be saying, why would that customer choose this app over that? Or if your idea is unique, you have to show the benefits of using their application. Why do they need this in their life? Why is this going to make a difference? What's going to happen? And then also, don't be afraid to share your idea at this idea stage, because when you are creating an idea, there is this point that it's very passionate about yourself. And if you are a startup at the moment, or you are a business person or not, or have that entrepreneurial flair, that you do become tunnel visioned in some ways, that you will see your idea and you think you know everything about your idea, and you forget what's happening in your peripheral vision. There's a great saying that I've read in one of the business books, that you need to invite people into your car and look out the windscreen and make sure you're all going in the same direction. So don't be afraid to share your idea, because sharing your idea will make people will question your idea. They will give you ideas to your idea, how they can improve your idea, things that you might have missed over that you might want to then add and tweak your business plan and business objectives, and how that's going to work. So it's really a good idea to share your idea with people. And then, the most important point, if you are a startup and you're looking to move into the B2C world, or you're looking to add value to people, you want to be able to monetize this so that you can survive and grow as a company. So you need to think about, how am I going to earn money from this product? What is this product going to give me, and how am I going to develop this project to the future to keep adding value, to keep helping your customers or your employees? We need to think about that. So you've got to look at, are you going to do this? Is this going to be a SaaS-based product? Is this going to be a perpetual licensing product? Is this going to be a pay-as-you-go product? Are you going to offer free trials to onboard people, to get people hooked to your idea so they can't live without that? Is it going to be in-app? Is it going to be free with in-app purchases to release content and premium stuff within the app? You've really got to look at different ways, whether that's how it pans out when you have built the application and when you spoke to marketing people and you've really understood how you're going to launch this into the market. You need to have an idea of how you're going to monetize this from the off. And that's where, what I just said there about, talking to marketing and brand producers and to-market strategists. This is involving experts. Magora, as a company, we're a digital build agency. We're expert in building software. For us, we have business analysts that can validate your idea, look at monetization strategies, look at to-market strategies, but these are advisors. We're a build agency. We look at, and we really look at the quality of the technology, the design, and the user experience of what you get with us, and how we can make that product a top-notch product for whoever's using it and want a product that people want to use. You've got to represent it to a wider audience, so maybe not just to the people that you wanted it to, get it out there to the peripheries of them. So if your app is designed at 20 to 25-year-olds, city workers, first-time jobbers that want to find cool and crazy locations within their city or wherever they're working, of things to do, involve people who are, maybe out of that age group, because they will have insights into what was cool and what was hip, or they will have a wider range of people to find out what they do. And you might just surprise yourself that actually more people than your target audience that you set out for in your idea stage want to use your application. And this is only going to mean one thing: greater adoption equals greater rewards for you and your business. And by that, then you can also understand how many people are going to use or buy your application. So this is very good when designing. You know, if you're looking at if we stick with young people, if you're designing something that's going to help university students, you've got to really think about, hang on, what happens if this bit of software gets adopted by one university that has 20,000 students, but then there are 150 universities in the UK that could want this, and that they've all got 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 students. So all of a sudden your app has multiplied big. So we have to make sure that we understand how many people are going to use this, so that we can, technically architect this in the right way so that it can withstand that many users at any given point. So that's a really important thing to understand as well. The next bit is the workflows and the understanding stage. So again, you've described your product, you've given it a general overview, you've built out how that's going to do and the workflows and what you're going to do. Now you have to build your documentation. This is maybe a brief or a business plan, or a brief and a business plan. You might have, sketched out some things, how you want it to look, some, rough wireframing. Get all that in a document, get that so it follows. And then what you do is as you're going and talking to people, you have that document, you have version 1 of that document, and you have version 2, 3, 4, because things slightly change and sweep with the conversations you have, and it's a place to where you know where you've been and where you're going. So it really makes it easy for IT vendors to be able to look at that and see your thought train, as well as the discovery conversations you have with a project consultant or a business development manager. They can have that, that solid bit of work, and they can, when they're pitching that internally to the team, for us at Magora, we sit down and we have a project meeting. So myself as project consultant, I would talk to the client and I would get your needs, wants, desires, what you're looking to do, really embed myself in what you're trying to build, and then I would pitch that internally to the technology team that would be working on your estimation. So with a documentation, anything that you can hand off, it's written by your hand. It's not done for interpretation from one person to another. It's a solid document, so it's really good. And the more detail and the more precise you can be within this documentation, it just adds for better conversations moving into the discovery, design, and development phase. It's always great if you can, if you've got something, survey potential users, go out and take a focus group and say, look, I'm building this. Would you use this? It might be, I don't know, a payment app within restaurants, of inviting friends and splitting the bill, or something like that. Or it could be, you're looking at a new way to rent your bike out to other people so they can use it. So like a bike sharing platform, would people use this? Is there buying in this? And then that can really, and at this moment in time, it's only cost you your time. It hasn't cost you anything. If you're on an enterprise level on this side, it's really understanding your workflows and describing your product and what you're trying to achieve, and then surveying the users that are going to use that and see if this would be benefit to them, and take their feedback on board, and then adapt the workflows for that. If you're not in a startup and this is already an established business and you're looking at streamlining business processes. So then there's the programming stage. So this is looking at what you want to do first. How are we going to do this first? What is this, and how are we going to do that, and how are we going to get to the next stage? If you're a startup, how am I going to get funding? What do I need to get funding? How is that going to do? How I've got funding, I can self-fund certain much. How much can I self-fund? Businesses, it could be you want to build a business case with internally, and then you might be one section, you need to go up and build a business section with the financial manager, the financial director, or the board, of trying to change a workflow or change a process within the company that would really benefit. So you're having a look at what you need to do that. And there are 3 main things. There are a prototype. This can come in 2 ways. This can come as a clickable prototype, which is non-working. So it's just screen and designs of how a workflow would work, and you can really, conceptualize how that's going to work. Or it could be a prototype that is a small build, and it's one section of the process, just to show you validation of what you're doing and it actually works. The next stage is the MVP. Not the most valuable player for any sports people on the line, but this is the minimal viable product. And what that means is the minimum amount of development and needs to make this viable, so it makes money, saves money, adds value, and then the P, the product. So this is the minimum of what you need to build to really add value. And show that it's working, and you can go out there and you can actually start making revenue or saving your company money by using this approach, which will help for future developments. It's a phased approach. The next stage is the one platform approach. We're very much a one platform organization at Magora. For this, what I mean by this is, if you want to build an app, by knowing your users, you will kind of have an understanding of how your users interact with your service or your product or what you're looking to build. So we would say to build one of the mobile applications, iOS or Android, and do that first, get market knowledge, get market release, and see how that's going. And then what we would do then is we would come back and do some analytics and find out, oh, actually people were logging, were trying to get to my platform off an Android device. So you built a web and an iOS, but actually most of the people that you're logging on are logging in through Android. So you have to build an Android device, an Android application now. If you do the analytics and it actually shows that people are just logging in through the website or searching for you on a website, and you've only got an iOS app, then you need to build a web platform. So find and try and identify that platform. This one will also constrain, it will shrink your budget. It'll keep you on course with your budget by building one platform that you know is going to be used. Startups, this is a little bit more difficult, because I know we speak to lots of startups here at Magora, and you want to penetrate the market and be inclusive of everyone, but it's really more important about getting a core network of users, which will drive everybody will want, oh, well, what's that application? Oh, I want that application. Why can't I get that application? And then that will drive the need for you and drive your user base and your presence within the market. And this is very important for existing businesses as well, that we build in the right technology and on the right platform, so it doesn't contradict any internal IT stuff. So we need to make sure it's the right platform rather than a one platform approach, the right platform approach, to make sure that we're building it in the right, it hits IT security, it's in the right technology stack, it's suitable for your hosted environment, and things like this. So these are all the things that we need to take into consideration. So now we're going to go on to the interesting bit, which is the cost examples. So this is just to give you an overview of things that we've done. So I'll describe the product and how much things cost within that. So an initial idea, as I said, just building the initial idea it costs nothing, up to £3,000 if you want to employ someone to do that, to build documentation, feature map, and things like that. But you could do that yourself. If you really put that time. I know time is money. But your time and your startup and your process, without actually spending any of your money actually in your pocket that you have, it just costs you £0, but it is your time. Or you can employ an agency like ourselves to help you with this. Then, as I just discussed, building that interactive design prototype, which is the non-working one. It's just a bunch of screens that are really nicely designed, and they follow your workflow through the system. That's going to cost you between £2,000 and £6,000 to build that. That'll be a nice, normally 2 or 3 concepts, between 10 and 25 screens, depending on your product and what you're looking to achieve. The prototype, which is just the one workflow. One thing to notice with this, most prototypes are not then reused. It's very raw or crude code, and it's might not be all wrapped up nice. It's just showing that the business workflow works and it's validated. This can cost you between £10,000 and £15,000 to do that. And then we move on to the MVP, which I've just discussed heavily in the previous slide, which will can cost anywhere between £10,000 and £50,000, depending on your feature set, depending on what you're looking to achieve, depending on what platforms you choose. There's a variance between there, and that's what we're looking at there. So on to the next slide, we've got our product examples. For everyone that's joined, you will be getting this slide deck. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. So you will be able to click on these projects and have a look at them on our website, or just go to our website, go onto our product site, and have a look at what they are, what they did. There's a full brief on there, and now I'm just going to sort of chuck the cost across you. So Hunger was a food delivery application. Very nice, very clean, a little bit different from what was already on the market, and to build one platform in the back end for that cost £35,000. So, you know, like I said, that MVP between that 10 and 15 mark, you know, really got that product out there for 35,000, and they're going great guns. The next one, the Show app, is this is a social media stroke events app. So what this does is a social media or a social network, a community for the events industry. So, but this is any events, not related to any specific events. And what it does is also suggests events that are in your area that you might want to go to, but you can also interact with the people while you're there, add videos, add content, chat to people. So it's a really, really inclusive application, and suggests things that you might want to go and see or do, because you're bored, and you go on Show Up and you say, find what's around me, or it might notify you that it knows that you like jazz and there's a jazz happening in the cafe down the road from where you're at work, and it will notify you and tell you that. So that was a fully functional product. So they went through the full 4Ds, and that, you know, that cost them two platforms and a back end, and that cost them £60,000. And then the final one of our examples here is this was a platform, a solution. This is very much taking a business into a digital era, or businesses into a digital era. This is a point of sale tool. So this not only does the point of sale at the till, so replacing tills with iPads, tablets, technology, computers. It also does logistics, stock take, and in inventory. So this was a web solution used for desktop and tablet, and a back-end solution to manage all the processes that are dealt with when you're dealing with buying and selling goods, whether that be in a shop, in a coffee shop, in a big organization, or warehouse level. So this was 150,000 for the entire project for their first round build. So that's just kind of give you sort of three examples of where we are as Magora and what we can do and what we can help, and what we're used to building. Three very different products there, each with their own complexities and their own niche and what they need to achieve. But with all the things I've mentioned previously, we were managed to work with these companies and build really, really, really good products. So the industries that we work in and what we've have got expertise in, I should have mentioned Magora's done over 600 projects since we started 8 years ago. It's transport and logistics, enterprise level development, MVPs for startups, medical, mobile app development, education, real estate, social media. We've worked with finance and banking, tourism. We've worked in the IT and telecom section, apps, e-commerce, point of sales, entertainment. So we've got a really wide range of skill sets at Magora, and we can draw on all that skill level and skill set for your application if you choose to move forward with Magora. So let's discuss your ideas. I mean, this is now down back to the Q&A section of the presentation. So if you could, if there's a little question section, if you logged in, if you want to write your questions there, and what I'll do is I'll try and get to these questions. If I don't get to your question within the time frame, we've got about 5 minutes left. Then I will follow them up with emails afterwards. But if not, I'll show you the last screen, and you can jot down my number and details, and we can talk these through. So I've got a question here from. So we've got a question here coming in saying, could you clarify what features should be implemented in an app? Okay, so this is a very broad question. So if you go back to the presentation I talked about, it's about underknowing your customer and underknowing or your user personas of what and also what you're trying to achieve. So it's really hard for me to give you, an app should have this, an app should have that. It needs to be specific to your idea and your project and your business. But if we generalize, normally apps on a B2C, what you want to do is have a login screen. So why do you want a login screen? Because you want to capture the data of the people that are using. So you want to know your customer. You want a profile screen. So you want people to upload information about themselves, so you can build that persona of who they are and what they do. That will help you market to them in certain different ways if you are selling something. good things to have are, you know, an admin panel, you know, so you can sort of monitor what's going on. That's kind of key to everything. So an audit trail if you're an enterprise and you want to check your system. Payments and how to manage these payments. They're really good features to have, you know, to have in the application. But I think, you know, it was Lola that answered that question. Lola, I'd love to hear more about your idea. So please do drop me an email after this, or I'll give you a call and we can discuss what your idea is and you know, how we can help you choose what features need to go in your MVP or your prototype to really get you out there on the market as soon as possible. So I have another question here about, do we work with healthcare software creation? So as you've seen from the initial round, I've got a history of working within the NHS in England in digital transformation. So me personally, I have expert knowledge in this and bringing ideas to life. But yes, we do. We've built a number of health and health-related applications. One that stands out is Novacare. So this was a product that was to help you budget and run your medical centres. So Novacare came to us and tasked us with this about, they wanted to streamline and control the process of their health care centres and knowing how much was being spent on each of their patients, how much their employees, and how they could really look at, you know, really making their company lean and more productive, but also more profitable. So we looked at that and we really looked at how we could streamline all these processes by automation, using the data for patients and calculating what an average patient would cost from the data from all their information, running protocols within the system to help manage things within the system better. And just gives you an overall view, so dashboarding of where you sit, where does health centre A compare to health centre B, and how are they running and what could they do to improve services for their patients. And a really interesting question just come in here now is, I've got two prices or two quotes from two different software vendors for the same job. Can you tell me why? Okay, so this is quite a good question actually, and you know, there is a longer answer and a shorter answer to this, but I think goes down to skill set and expertise of the company and what they're looking to achieve and how they are, but also you know, we've got to look at the companies and how they've reacted to your brief or the conversation, and you know, what questions they've asked. Do they really understand what you want to do? Have they really dived deep? Have they dove under the bonnet and had a look around and really seen what happened? And as at Magora, you know, in the estimation stage, we actually spend quite a lot of time on the estimation to make sure we understand. We deploy a business analyst, a designer, and a technologist to really look at that and understand what you're trying to build from the brief that you've given us. That's why prices can vary. So it's always good to, you know, ask for, you know, oh, okay, that price is that. What is the process? What methodology are you using? How are you creating that? Are you doing that? Are you doing that agile, or are you doing that waterfall? What technologies are you going to use? How are you going to make my product secure? How are you going to future-proof my project? And different companies work in different ways, and that's where you might get a varied in price, and also down to skill set. Some people might be really highly skilled, so they might be slightly more expensive or have a niche in that. Others. So it's really about finding that really right fit for you and how that's going to do it, and that can affect prices and also location of where your development team are. I mean, some places are cheaper to develop than others, so it's really looking at that and weighing them up, and that goes down to your selection criteria of your IT vendor, which is I covered off in the last webinar. If you attended the last webinar, if not, it's on our website. You can download and have a listen about selection of IT vendor and how to make sure you make the right choices. The next question is, look, how can I remove the middleman in my business? I am looking at if we are working with an internal internet marketing company. So I think what you're trying to answer there is, you know, how do you you have all the data as a company from your customers and people that are, you know, going to your site and browsing, and how do you utilize this data without going to a third party and having to spend out money? So what you can do is you can look to you can look to build a bespoke or off the shelf, maybe is the right thing. You have to look at what you can do out of the box software to help that, and have your own marketing team run that, or have a person run that. And this can be done in a variety of ways. It's really it's really where you have the data already in your system of what your typical customer is, what their spending habits are, when do they reply to you, what do you need to do, what's susceptible, what's not. And if you build this sort of, I guess, customer relationship management software, you can really understand that, and you can set tasks when you want, so you don't have to pay a third party to do that, and you can make things quite snazzy and quite quick. Excuse me, but there are other ways of doing this, and removing middle people out of other things as well. So there's the old saying of the rubber stamp. You need to get the rubber stamp from someone within a process, within maybe a supply chain or something. But look, we could look to how do we automate that, so it doesn't need, if you filled in the process right and you've hit all the checklists and no red flags have been showed in the process, which we can build into the system, that it automatically gets rubber stamped and there's not that waiting around, so you become more productive. So there's ways of looking at that. So it's about, well, who is the middleman and how are they restraining you, and how can we make that better? So that's one way we can do also. We've got one more question to come in, which is, I run an auto repair shop or service. How is bespoke software going to help me? They use standard programs like Microsoft Office and working in Excel mainly. So what would you suggest me to do? So thank you very much for that question. It's kind of everything that we've looked at in this webinar, and I hope that's really given you some ideas of where to start. Of if we look back at what we're going to do is, you need to, why do you need bespoke development? What are you not getting now that you already have? So let's get a starting point. So what part of the process in your auto shop at the moment is not working for you? Is that billing customers? Is that receiving funds from customers? Is that sending reminders out for people to come in for their service? Sending things out for having their tires checked? Is it getting more customers to come and spend more money with you? What do you need to do? Then you have to understand your customers and understand your brief and what you're looking to do. So there are really lots of things that you can do to help with bespoke software, and it can definitely help you, but we really need to understand your business and your business processes. Sorry, Kat, I'm not giving you a more detailed into that, but I mean, an auto repair shop, there are many business functions, or many business processes, I should say, within your organization. So we need to understand what the bespoke software you need actually is, and how can that be implemented. But please do, like I said to Lola earlier on, please, Alex, do drop me an email, or I'll chase up and we can follow this up to see where we can help you. And then we've got another question in here, which is, how can I leverage my business with IT? This is a good question. So everyone talks about it, we've got to move into the digital age, we've got to get this, we need an app, we need this, we need that. You don't need any of that. You need to assess your business and assess how IT can help you. It doesn't have to be this singing or dancing system. You don't need 72 different apps for all you'd ever do. It could be just simple as automating a process. If we take a law firm, for example, for this, they spend a lot of money and business resource on paralegals referencing documents. Wouldn't it be nice if you could build a bespoke software that you could upload a document, it would have a database in the back end, it would read your document, and it would then reference that against all of the cases and everything. That would, one, save a paralegal a lot of time so they can spend money on other things, which would be, it would stop the lawyer be able to settle more cases quicker, which would mean the law firm would be able to take on more cases because you're not spending so much time on these processes. So that is, I mean, that's quite a big system, but it's just one simple process. Don't look to change your entire business with IT. Look at one process at the start and see how you can use that IT to leverage to make you more profitable, more productive, and the people that are using your software have a better time using it. So they're the kind of things that you really need to think about. there with that one. I guess we're coming up to the sort of the end of time now. So is there any more questions? I'll just hang on for a little bit more. But what I'll do is I'll just give you all my contact details here. So if you do have any other questions or further questions, then please do reach out to me. There's my email address. There's my direct dial. There's the address. Please do drop me an email and drop in for a coffee. Make sure you send an email first to make sure I'm in the office. But I would really like to meet everyone that's on this webinar and or have a conversation with you and see if I can help you and Magora can help you to move forward. We just had one more question come in, which is, what is the most impressive example in your practice of how a business changed after software integration? I guess I think if we all look at very important or very impressive things that have happened, I guess one for me, as a Londoner, and is Uber, and how Uber has changed the game dramatically. It's at a touch of a button. You don't have to carry cash. Everything's billed. It's auditable. It's referenced. You know who your driver is. You know everything. And Uber just did that very well by understanding the market of private hire and taxis. And they just picked all the gaps of where it was really hard to find. You had to phone a taxi. The person had to wait. You wouldn't know how long the wait time was. Or you'd have to stand in the street and wait for a taxi and flag one down with a light on. And then it was, who is your taxi? Is that really a taxi, or is that a car that's just stopped? Do I know that? Who was my taxi driver? Because you wouldn't have got that off the phone call. And you might have, as we might have got a text saying so-and-so is turning up. But when you've got there, you don't know who that person is. So think of all the great things Uber have done for that and how they have changed the private hire industry and taxis. You can order on your phone. You can see how far they are away. You can see the route they're going to take, so if it's the right way to go home. You know exactly who your taxi driver is because there's a photo of that taxi driver. You can see if they are trustworthy because they have a rating. So they know that you can see on that rating of that trip and what people have said about that driver. They know who you are. They only let you get in the car, so they qualify you before you get in the car, so make sure that people don't jump in someone else's taxi. You can monitor it, so other people can watch you as you're going home if they have access to your Ubers. They know where you are. You don't have to get any money out, so at the end of the night, if you might not have any money on you, you just need to get home, it's cold, it's wet, and you don't want to stop at a cash point, you have that. So it bills straight to your card, and then it also has receipt and their customer service. Being able to contact them very quickly about, it gets better the more people use it because they are collecting that data about their people and their users and who's buying, and making sure that the questions are really sharp and snappy to be able to get you resolution for your inquiries or your problems if you do have one. So that's a really, really, really good example of modern day impressiveness with a B2C application that technology has really, really helped a business or an industry, because now it's sort of that shining light, a vanguard within that industry of where people are getting to. And more and more people are trying to have these and picking the gaps that are now in Uber and leveraging on that, finding your niche, finding your add value. So you get more and more competitors in the market now that are doing a little bit more than what Uber are doing. So that's really great to see. And that's what we can talk about more within your industry. We can have a look and see what we can do to try and make you stand out from the crowd as well if you're looking to move forward. So that's it from me today. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you all soon, and have a good rest of the day.